Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today on Masechtas Ketubot daf Ches, we are going to begin on the very bottom of Zion Amud Beis by the two dots. So Mavarach and Berachas Chasanim Basara Kol Shiva. So when it comes to Berachas Chasanim, also known as Sheva Brachos, so this is said all 7 days, and it should be done with a minyan. So maybe Hudabahu Shibo Panim Chadashais. It's necessary that we have Panim Chadashais. So Rashi says, what does that mean? B'chol yom shul hayusham esmol. Has to be that there's at least some people that weren't there yesterday in order to be able to say the brachos today. So the Gemara asks, "My mavarich." So Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda says, "Baruch Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam." As we continue Chesed Aleph, Shakol borel chvoidai. So on this Rashi says, "Nira be'enai seder brachos shenistru al iske hazug," that they're actually in accordance of a pair. In Elam Asher Yotzer Ve'elach. It actually begins from Asher Yotzer and onward. She'osa bracha maschelas ladaber b'shneihem, because the bracha talks about both of them. Asher Yotzer as Adam medaber b'zachar. That Asher Yotzer talks about the creation of a man. As you look at the top Rashi, v'hiskin lo mimenu binyan adead. Actually, yeah, so let's continue. He had a nekeva, and this bracha is about the creation of a nekeva. So therefore, it's in this pattern. So the truth is, the first bracha is actually not in order, and then afterwards we say Shakol Baruch Chvoido v'Yoitzer Ha'adam v'Asher Yotzar Es Ha'adam Etzalmai, that Hashem created in His image. But Tselem Demos Tabnisai, and Tselem, and the image of his likeness was he created. V'hiskin lo mimenu binyan adiyad, and he prepared for him a everlasting structure, which Rashi says he nekeva, that this is referring to the nekeva adiyad baruch atah Hashem yoitzer ha'adam. So there is the first bracha of yoitzer adam, which is referring to, or asher yotzer as adam. Asher Yatzar as Adam is Medaber B'Zachar, and then this bracha is talking about the creation of a woman. Yotzer Adam, fine. Sois Tosis, the Tagel HaKar, rejoice the barren one, B'Kibutz Baneha Latocha, by the gathering of your children, B'Simchot joy, Baruch Hashem Esmeach Sion B'Vaneha, says Rashi, Sois Tosis, L'Vishanu Srichin L'Halos Zikar Yerushalayim Al Roisim Chaseinu, Shnemer Tidbak L'Shayni Litchi. So this pasuk, or rather this bracha, is in correspondence to the importance of remembering Yerushalayim at the time of our joy. So this is the bracha of Sois Tosis V'Tagel HaKara B'Kibutz Baneha L'Tocha B'Simcha Baruch Hashem B'Smeach Sion B'Vaneha. Now this is actually very interesting. This is actually question 5, and this is the question. Ma tiknu chazal b'simchas chas mekal l'kayim shnemer tidbak nafshi l'shayni litchi, that my tongue is attached to my palate. Imo el es Yerushalayim al rosh simchasi, if I don't mention Yerushalayim. So it's that bracha, but for some reason over here it says bracha sameach tisamach, which is really not true. It's really the bracha of sois tosis. Okay. And then you have Samet Tisamach, Reim Ahuvim, the loved ones rejoice, the happy ones. Kisamechacha Yitzircha, just like your joy of your creations, Began Eden Mikedem, in Gan Eden in the east, Baruch Atah Hashem Esamech Chasen B'Kala. So if you look in Rashi, this bracha l'chasen B'Kala she'atzlichu b'simcha, that just in general, the fact that it says Chostan V'Kala is that they should rejoice and be successful, and they should have V'tuv Leiv, a good heart, V'asher Baruch L'Shem Kol Yisrael. L'Vhisha Seder Maschem Asher Yatzar, since it began with the bracha of Asher Yatzar, L'fikach Pasach Ba B'Barach, so it began with a bracha, V'chasem Ba B'Barach, Keder Kol Roishe Sidrei Brachais. However, V'sos Tosis V'Samech Tisamach, why doesn't it begin with a bracha? Because because they're considered to be a bracha which is next to its friend. Well, pasach bo babarach. So if you have a bracha right before it, you don't need to start again with a bracha, which is the same reason why in Shmon Esrei, they're all considered to be a bracha smucha al chaverta. Shekin tiknu l'chol brachos shesmuchas achar harishayna al seder. V'asher yatzar mimnei shehin nemeres yechidus. When it comes to the bracha of Asher Yatzar, it could be said alone. B'roi b'mei mishta during the times of rejoicing. Kishein sham panim chadashis. If you don't have panim chadashis, lefikach enu min hasmuchais. V'hutzach liftoach bo b'barach. L'sayim bo b'barach. The question is, why the last bracha, the long bracha that everyone loves to sing, why does it begin with bracha ta Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam? As we're going to see, because sometimes, even though it's a bracha smucha lechaverta, but sometimes it's said independently. And therefore, since it's sometimes said independently, therefore it has to be said that way. Avol. Shahakoil bar l'chvodo enu min haseder. The bracha of shahakol bar l'chvodo is not in the proper order. Ela la seifa sa'am hane'esafim sham. It's regarding the people that gather together. Ligmo chesed zeichel chaste hamakim shnoig im adam arishin. Shasuba shoishvin umis asik boy. So, the whole mentioning of this really is not necessary to be in this particular location. Skipping a few lines in Rashi. When it says that Yotzar Adam, which was instituted by the creation of Adam Rishon, we'll see later on, it's not part of the regular order. Dahabi Yitzir Yishayna Kati Nekeva Havoy. In the first Yitzir, there was no Nekeva. Because of the second creation of the woman, Tiknu Af Al Harishayna Shehi Iker Utchilasai. Okay. Weiter, so the Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher baruch sosam v'simcha sosam chosam v'kala gila brina ditza v'chetva ava v'achva shom b'reyos. Some people ask the kasha, why is you first have love and then brotherhood, peace, and then reyos, friendship? Why is reyos afterwards? You would think it's not the highest level. Mehera Hashem Elokeinu yishma be'eri Yehuda v'chutzas Yerushalayim. Kol sostim kol simcha kol chasim kol kala kol mitzalos chasanim mechupasam minorim mimishte neginasam baruch atah Hashem mesameh chasan im hakala. Here it's mesameh, not chasan vikala, which as you said is just in general they should be matzliach. Here it's chasan vikala. So as we look in Rashi, v'achreina mesameh chasan im hakala avi shesimchas bracha rishayna lo besimchas chasna anu oimer. The first time we say is not based on the chasna. Shahari tfilahi shmisbalim mevarchim shu samechim b'hatzlacha koimeim. They should be successful. The two of them, the chasna v'kala. V'ikach ein lachtoim ba misameach chasan im hakala. Temash be'ishtoi el baruch Hashem misameach es shneihem. Bless both of them. They should both be happy. So it's specific, the man to the woman. That's the reason why it's mentioned in this way. Okay. All right. Let's look at. Actually, let's continue a little bit weiter. So those are the Sheva brachos found over here on partially starting on Daf Zayin, which is the seventh bracha. Okay, on Daf Zayin. It's a way to remember that. So, Baruch Atah Hashem Esmech Chasan Imakal Levi Ikol Bei Rebbe Heluli de Rav Shimon Berei Baruch Chamesh. He only said 5 brachos. Rav Asi Ikol Bei Rav Ashi Behilul Demar Berei Baruch Shis. So one said 5 brachos, one said 6. So what's the difference? So Rashi says the 6 Yoitzer Adam Moisif, that he added the bracha of Yoitzer Adam. Let's say this is what the machlokas is. Demar Savar Chad Yitzira Havoy. One says there's only one Yitzira, therefore you only say Yoitzer Adam once. Demar Savar Shtei Yitzira, so you had an extra bracha Havoy. Lo Dekulam Chad Yitzira Havoy. Mar Savar Basa Machshavas Lina, and the machshava was initially that there would be 1, and then afterwards 2. Mar savar basar maisais azlina. We go basar maisa. Says Rashi. Going basar machshava shishnayim olu b'machshava. They both went in Hashem's mind, so to speak. He barais v'nibra echad to create, and he created one. Fine, fine. Mar savar basar maisa azlina. Ki had Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Ki had Rabbi Yehuda Rami. That's a contradiction in Psukim. Ksiv v'hiro came as to Adam at Salmo. Hashem created a man in His image. Ksiv zachna keva baram. So ketza. So b'dechila alba machshava li barei shnayim. Originally Hashem was thinking to create initially both. But b'sayv never echad. He ended up only creating Adam and then afterwards Chava. Rav Ashi ikol abei Rav Kahana Yomi kama. On the first day, Baruch Kuhu, they said all these brachos. Mekan ve'elach, yi'ika panam chadashes, Baruch Kuhu ve'ilo, afushi simcha b'almahu, mevarech. Sheh simcha b'mana ve'asher yatzar. They would just add an extra element of simcha by saying that bracha, as we said, independently, the last one of Baruch at the very, very end of Mesimech Chasani Makala, that last bracha was the only one they would say without panim chadashos. Also, they would say shasimcha b'mamonai, which is instituted in Berachas Hamazon. Fine. Now, mishiva b'yad shloishim. If let's say after the 7 days are gone, but they're still within the 30 days of their wedding, bein amruhu machmasilu bein uloimer ulohu machmasilu mevar shasimcha b'mamonai. You still say shasimcha b'mamonai in Berachas Hamazon. Mekan ve'elach. From 30 days on, so the person says, "Oh, I'm here to celebrate this wedding that took place a couple months ago." So then you would still say Shasimcha b'mu'anai. So the Gemara asks, "Machmas helula ad emos." So let's say a person says Machmas helula, that they're here and they're celebrating, and the wedding was 20 years ago, so do you still say Shasimcha b'mu'ana? No, it's only ad triasar yarchi. It's only the first 12 months. After 12 months, even if it was totally in the intention for this purpose, we still do not anymore say Shasimcha b'mu'ana. Ad triasar yarchi shaita. So mikar mi'emos, before when, says Rashi, koidem a chuppah, im hizmin kruyim v'yom machmas shani roitz lahachnes Benil Chuppah, so there's an element of celebration of I'm bringing my child to the Chuppah. So Amar Papa Mechiramu Sari Be'asinta, from the time in which a person will put literally the barley on the pot. Says Rashi, Yesh Sharim Sa'irim. There are those who soak barley arevas mayim, lahatel sheichu etzer chuppah, yishom l'shem hachasan v'akala zayrim, that they plant this special pot, which is sa'irin, which is barley, ba'atzitz, in a pot, loimer puravu v'simchu kisarim halolu. So it's an interesting celebration that they would actually have a pot, and they would say, just like this barley inside will grow and flourish, so too my children. So from that point before the wedding already, you can start saying Shasimcha b'mu'anai. Okay, fine. So the Gemara then continues and says as follows. So again, that was Omer Papa Mechira Masari Ba'isna. Of course, Rav Papa is the person who himself deals with barley and making beer. So it's interesting that he's the one who gives this answer. Eini v'harav Papa Asik l'Abba Marberei Baruch Mishas Erison. He made the bracha Mishas Erison. So you don't see this time that he mentioned. So Shani Rav Papa Dahavi Tariach Le. He was matriach. In other words, it was all prepared. Says Rashi, Mesukanim Hayulo Kot Sarchi Chuppah V'Suda. Ravina Yasik Le Lebrei. So Ravina was engaged in helping for his son's wedding. Lebrei Beirav Chaviva Ubarach Mishas Erison. And again, he started saying Shasim Chamoda from the time of the Erison. Omer Kimli Begavaihu Deloy Hadri Behu. I am confident not to retract. Louis Stayim Milsa Hadri Behu. It wasn't much longer until finally he actually did end up retracting from his original statement. Rav Tachlifa bar Marava equally Babu bar Shis. He made 6 brachos which are arichta, long. In other words, without relying on the concept of a brachas milchalacha verita. We know the halacha is not like that, because if there was a bracha right before it, then you don't have to continue the next paragraph with baruch, but rather you just say sos tosis, for example, or for that matter, you can say sos tosis or samach to samach. Okay. Rav Tachlifa bar Marava ikul Babel bar Shis arichta v'leisach zakavase. So he did that. Rav Chaviva ikul be Mehula. He went to a bris milah. Baruch shasimcha b'muanai, and they said this bracha at Berachas Hamazon. V'leisach zakavase misham de tiridi de islate sarleit nuka, because of their being troubled due to the pain that took place to this child who just had a bris milah. He can't say shasimcha b'muanai. Amar Rav Nachman Amar Rav Chasanim in a minyan. So we mentioned you need to have 10 people for Berachas Chasanim. The question is, does the Chasan count as the 10? The answer is yes. However, in a veilim in a minyan, but someone who's in a veilus will not count. Meisvei Chasanim be'avelim in a minyan. It says that avelim are in a minyan. So Masnisa Karamis Alei the Rav. So you're saying what? This contradicts Rav. Rav Tanahu Paul. He's allowed to argue. Imar. So it's a machlokas regarding aveilus, whether or not they're included as part of the minyan. Itmar. Rabbi Yitzchak, Rabbi Yochanan, Chasanim in a minyan, they ain't avelim in a minyan. So clearly he says that Avel is not part of the 10. You need an additional 10 other than the Avel. Meisvei Chasanim avelim in a minyan, but we know elsewhere that it says that Taka they are part of the minyan, even avelim, as we continue Chesed Beis. Ki Tanyahi Babirchas Hamazayin. Says Rashi, Litztaref L'Gimel, to include him to be part of 3, he's obligated to bench. We said in Avos Chai B'chol Mitzvos Mos B'Torah, Chutz Min HaTefillin, but he's obligated in Berachas Hamazon. So therefore, he would be able to be mishtatif to 3 in order to be able to do a zimun. However, when it comes to Berachas Avelim, he would not count. Kikam Rav Yochanan B'Shura. We're talking about the row, says Rashi. Kishahayu chayuzim in a kever. When you return from the grave, which is the minhag we do nowadays, also hay oisin shura saviv avel l'nachamai. So they create these 2 lines, and the person in the veilus walks in between them. And the din is, you need a minyan. Ve'in shura pachas miyud. You need a row of 10. Rabbi Yitzchak Rabbi Yochanan Mevarach Berachas Chasan B'Asara V'Chasan Ben Minyan. Then it says Uberachas Avelim B'Asara. You do need a minyan. You need 10. Ve'ein Avelim in a minyan. So what do we see? Bracha B'Shura Mi'ika. The question is, what does that mean? Berachas Avelim. That's not a bracha. You're making a line and you're saying Hamaki Menachem. You're not saying a bracha. So it can't be referring to the requirement of having 10 people in a row. El Kikam Rav Yochanan Berachava. It's referring to the din of the public square. And the requirement, when you sometimes have a minyan in a public square, that it's necessary that you, again, has to be, again, for a veilus, that they will not count as part of the minyan. Velhadiam Rabbi Yitzchak Rabbi Yochanan Mevarach Berachas Chasanim B'Asara Kol Shiva for Chasanim in a minyan. Fine, that's fine and well, but also Uberchas Avelim B'Asara Kol Shiva, and it says for 7 days. Then Avelim in a minyan. Now Berachas Rachava Kol Shiva Mi'ika. The bracha, the Rachava, even though it is a bracha, we don't say it for 7 days. So Mishkachas Lo B'Panim Chadashas. Interesting. If you have Panim Chadashas, then Barachava, you actually would be saying the bracha all 7 days. Ki Hada Rav Chia bar Abba Makri B'nei Reish Lakish, that he taught Chumash to the children of Reish Lakish. Avi the Amrula Masni B'rei Reish Lakish. Avi Shachav Le Yenuka, so he died. Yoma Kamala Ozol Gabe, didn't go to him. Amachar Dabre Yehuda bar Nachmani. He went with Yehuda bar Nachmani, Meturgamane, who was the Meturgaman. Armalei Kum Ema Milta, come and say a matter. Kol Kabel Yanuka Pasach V'Yomer. So every child said a pasuk. The pasuk was V'yar Hashem. Hashem saw V'yiratz V'yinatz Mikas Banav V'noisav, that he was angry at his children. Dor she'avoy shena'atzim Kodesh Baruch Hu Koyes al b'neihem v'al b'noseihem v'meisim k'shem ketanim. So when it comes to a generation where its forefathers provoke Hashem and anger the children and the daughters, they will die when they are young. Al-Kain al-Bachurim, these teenagers, lo yismach Hashem, do not rejoice. Ves yisaymav, yes al-manaisav, lo yirachim, does not have compassion on. Kikulo hanef, because it is all flattery. Umeireya v'chol ped doiver nevala. B'chol zois, and all this, lo shav apo, I will not turn my face. V'oid yadai netuya, and also your hand will be outstretched. So my v'oid yado netuya. What is this end of this pasuk? So Chanan barav hakol yodim kalwa laman nechnas l'chuppah. Everyone knows what goes on after the chuppah, that they consummate the marriage. Anyone who opens up their mouth and says what's going on, even something which everyone knows about, even if you have a decree for 70 years for good, it's going to be turned to bad. The question is, what exactly is going on? Is he trying to comfort the person? He's causing pain with this pasuk. You are very special, litfuse adara, that the generation is going to be actually able to be makabel. It survived due to the greatness of you. Says Rashi, the kaimalan bezman shat tzadikim bador tzadikim nitfasim oil hador. They absorb the punishments of that generation. Fine. Amrle kum ema milsa neged shivcha shel Kodesh Baruch Hu. Go and tell me something which is regarding to the praise of Hashem. Pasav yirma hakel hagadol b'roiv gadol adi b'chazak b'roiv norois mechai mesim b'mamaroi. Ois gdulos and cheker does greatness till no level, v'niflois and mispar, and wonders until no number. Baruch Hashem mechai mesim. Similarly, kum ema milsa keneged avelim. Go up and say something regarding the mourners. So pasav yirma achenu, our brothers, hamiyu goyim, that are worn out, hamiduchayim ba'avel, those who are distraught in mourning. Hazatunu lavavchem lachar azois, you should put your heart to delve into this and to think about this. Zosio medes la'ad, this was the reality of the world that always is. Mitzivhu mishishim gracious. Rabim shasu, rabim yishdu, many drank, many will drink. In other words, there are many people that died, and many people will die. Kamishni risheni kach mishna achrayim, just like the original drink, so too is this one. Even though our generations change, we have technology and everything, the reality is that we are mortal and people will die. Achenu bal nechamois yanachim eschem brachat manachim avelim. Amar by Rabim shasu, many drank. Lema Rabim yishtu. Once you say many will drink. Lo lema mishte rishayna, lema mishte achrayim. So he said mishte rishayna lema, mishte achrayim lo lema. Let me read this again. The Bible says Rabim shasu lema, Rabim yishtu lo lema, mishte rishayna lema, mishte achrayim lo lema. Don't mention about what will be, that your person will die. Why not? Person should not open his mouth to the Satan. And this is a question 6. Because it says that we're saying, oh, we're so bad, we're just like Sodom and Gomorrah. So my Hadar Bey, what did the prophet respond? Shimunu Devar Hashem Katsini Sodom. Listen the words of Hashem, you officers of Sodom. So we see this notion that if a person feels and speaks, I'm bad, I'm horrible, so that's probably what you're going to end up becoming. So the person should also not start wishing tragedy upon themselves, even though it's a reality. You don't speak up that way. So pasach v'yer machenu goyim chasadim b'nei goyim chasadim hamachasim b'rvir shel Abraham Avinu. You grab hold of the bris of Abraham Shnemar ki yadaiti v'man asher yitzav es banav v'goymer achenu bal hagmul yishal machem gmulchem. May they be repaid for their kindness. Bracha ta mishalim hamgmul. Amalei ema milsa keneged kol Yisrael. Seisan keneged kol Yisrael. Pasam yemar ban olam pedei redeem. V'hatzel and save. Maleit hoisha amcha Yisrael min hadever. Please save us from all these tragedies, like the plague, min hacherab and the sword, min habiza from plunder, min yishidafon, min yirakoin. These different diseases that can afflict one's crops. Any hardship that may fall the world. Terem nikra v'atatana. Even before we call out, you already answer Hashem. Baruch atah yotzer hamagefa. You stop the plagues. There's actually 10 cups. Rashi says, they drink a lot. Someone who is mourning and sad, we give them wine, and this way it's able to calm their nerves a little bit. So there's actually 10 cups that are given in the house of the Avel. Shleisha kodem achila. 3 are before they eat. Kedei liftayach es b'nei meyav, to literally open up their stomach, make them have an appetite. Shloisha b'toch achila, kedei lishras achila sheb'meyav. So the next 3 is kind of like to soak the food in the stomach. The arba la'ach achila, we have 4 more after we eat. Echad keneged azam, ve'echad keneged berachas hamazon, ve'echad keneged b'Yerushalayim, ve'echad keneged v'tayv ha'meitiv. So keneged these brachos of berachas hamazon. Hosif alein arba, 10's not enough, so they added another 4. Echad keneged chazani ha'ir, one opposite keneged the chazano of the ear. Says Rashi, tiknal hem bracha lov lafi shayam shamashi ha'ir was asik b'mesim v'shar tzarchet tzibor. They take care of the mesim and all the other public matters. So we give a toast to them. The echad keneged parnasei ha'ir, those individuals who are very wealthy that support people, especially when it comes to kvura. Ve'echad keneged beis ha-mikdash, echad keneged Rabbi Gamliel. One opposite Rabbi Gamliel's was discussed. Beis ha-mikdash, you understand, tiknul birchas nichumim shenachamenu hamakam b'vinyanoim yavalenu shanim es'alam lov ke'al meis. So just like we tragically have our own personal loss, so too in the public loss of the Beis HaMikdash. Yischilu hayu shaisin, they were drinking. Mishtakrin, they got drunk. So Echzir hadavar liyoshna, they went back to the original status of having 10 cups, not 14. So my Rabbi Gamliel, why did they at one point make it an extra cup for Rabbi Gamliel? What did he do that was so great? So the sign Rishayna Haisad Sasames Kashul Likroivav Yosim and Misasai, that it would be so difficult, the expense in order to be able to take care of a person who died, was the financial burden was even worse than the actual loss of that person themselves. That's how devastating it was, how expensive it was. People would just run away. They wouldn't be able to pay for the kfura. He engaged in a matter which made the funeral expenses very cheap. And he was out in these flax. Because of that, that's what everyone else started to wear as shrouds. He says that nowadays, even sarda, Rashi says, beged kanvus, something which is very inexpensive, only a dinner, or it's the amount of a zuz, that's how a person should be buried. So the greatness of Rabbi Gamliel, and the reason why the Avel toasts Rabbi Gamliel, at least they used to, as one of the cups, is because they had a tremendous amount of gratitude an appreciation because Rabbi Gamliel is able to cause the financial burdens to be minimized. Okay, we're going to stop here. Let's see a couple questions. TA 22. TA 22 asks, Levi Baruch Chamish, Rav Asi Baruch Sheish. So the question is, why was there a machlokus if there should be 5 brachos or 6 brachos? So the Eza bracha nechlaku ubamai kmifki. What's the whole machlokus? So the question is, brachas yoitzer ha'adam. The question is, was there chad yitzira or 2 yitziras? And even if you want to say basar machshava, or maybe they argue basar machshava azlinan, or machshava ol shtayim, and the machshava Hashem there was 2, or basar maisa, which is only 1. TB 23. Difficult question. Madua berchas asher yatzar she shlishis beseder berchas chasanim poisachas mabarach. Why does the third one start with baruch? Farahi smuch lachaverta. It's next to the bracha before. V'chein kasha beberchas asher bara v'achreina. So the last one isn't so difficult because asher bara menei shehi nemeres b'yachidus b'rav yomim kishem panim chadashos hutzruch liftoich b'barach. As we said, there are some times that a person is still going to say this, even in a situation where there isn't a minyan, right? Nonetheless, again, this is what the Gemara says. So he said, Baruch Kuhu. You can ikapanam chadashas Baruch Kuhu v'ilo of fushi simcha ba'alma v'hu mavash simcha b'mono vasher bara. Okay, so we see TB 23 that again it's said even b'yechidus. This bracha is always said, and therefore because of that, it's said at the end with Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam, etc. Now the other question is by Asher Yatzar, why do we start off with a Baruch over there? And the answer is Lefi She'ein Beis Brachos Rishonos Min HaSeder. The first 2 brachos are actually not in order. Nisadru al Zug Vaseder Maskil Mebrachas Asher Yatzar. The truth is, the third bracha is really the first bracha. The other 2 brachas of Shakol Baruch Voido and Asher and Yotzer and Shakol Baruch Voido Yotzer Adam, those are actually out of order, and therefore the first real bracha, interestingly enough, is the third bracha of Asher Yatzar. Adkan.